Welcome to Pop Art. My name is Dr. Anna Potsi-Harris. You may call me Dr. P. And this is just a welcome and a walk through the course. We're gonna go over the first week, well, the whole syllabus, but then also the first week and the second week, and then the final week, because weeks 3 and 4 are similar to week 2. So I will go ahead and share the screen. And as you know, I am teaching 2 sections of this course this summer. So your course will either look like this or like this. The courses are identical, and they just look a little different, but this applies to both of the sections. All right. So I'm just going to use section A as the model, but again, everything will be identical in every sense. So here you see the home page, and one thing that I like to do is show you the entire calendar at once, because the calendar settings on D2L are not necessarily, they don't show you everything. You get your notifications, but then it's nice to kind of see it at a glance. So basically, this is a 5-week course. And today is the first day of class, and you can start watching the week 1 videos and completing the mandatory attendance requirements. And then you want to submit notes for week 1 videos. And these notes are really for you to study, right? They are for me to verify that you've watched the videos, but also they really are for you, if since you're going to have to do a test or an exam on Friday. And I will go over what this will entail in just a minute. Then week 2, week 3, and week 4 are very much the same, in the sense that we have discussions. And again, we'll go over that as well. For each discussion, you have to write 1 research post and then 6 replies. And you have everything is due, as you might have seen, on Tuesday or on Friday. So the discussion post is going to be due on Tuesday every week, and then the replies, all of them will be due finally on Friday. Of course, you can work through them from Wednesday to Friday. However, because next week is 4th of July, and that falls on a Friday, then the deadline is extended until Saturday, but it's only an exception because of the holiday. Week 3 is the same, right? 6 replies are due on Friday, and the discussion post associated with that is due on Tuesday. Week 4, same thing. And then finally, we also have deadlines on Tuesday and Friday on the 5th week, but these are the final assignments, right? That will be more cumulative in their approach. So you have an art project, and then a significance summary that works as a kind of final exam. But it's not an exam, it's a paper that you submit. And that's our course. It's very straightforward. It should be fun. All right. So we are going to, one thing is that here you will see that you don't see, oh, by the way, let me just put this in student mode so that you see exactly what you see here. This is what you see. Ultimately, you don't have a quizzes tab in there, or an assignment tab. So you will access the entire course through the content area. I prefer that because in this way, you follow the order, and there's more logic to the course in this way. However, syllabus and calendar are also linked in here, in addition to the content area. And of course, the class list, which I'm not sure if you have access to that, but if you do, you can see who's online. And of course, grades, right? The grade book is all set up. So let's go to content, and I'll walk you through the course, and then we'll go through the syllabus and look at any rules of the course. In the content area, we'll begin with start here, right? And here it's very straightforward. First thing you need to do is your self-introduction, right? And tell me a little bit about you. I already wrote a pretty long post about me and my family and my dog and all those fun things. And then you definitely want to do also the mandatory attendance quiz. All right. And it's just as like 4 questions. It just needs to be done for the university primarily. And the syllabus is here, but again, we'll go over it at the end. Um, you can read all of these. These are introductions to the course, etc. So we'll go into week 1. And what do you have here? Well, you have an introduction to pop art. So we're looking at pop art from the 1960s, at the beginning, British and American pop art, which are the foundation of pop art, right, as the movement. And so there are several videos here. There are 7 videos. Most of them are short, and they are kind of fun. They're quick, right? So you need to this is a learning material. You'll probably need to watch them more than once to truly absorb the information. I mean, you can watch a video for entertainment, or you can watch it to learn. In this case, you are actually watching it to learn in addition to being entertained. So make sure to watch it maybe more than once. So this one's 7 minutes long. Here you have some information about what to focus on. So this video talks about some specific works of art that will be covered in the test. So you definitely want to pay attention to those, especially here. The same thing. The third video is I'm telling you, focus on the first half hour. It's longer and it goes over other things, but just the first half hour is what you need. And again, take notes specifically on these works of art that are here. Same thing with the fourth video. This one is I think it's a little longer, but nonetheless, yeah, it's a little longer, but nonetheless, it will, you want to focus on these specific works. And this is longer because it's my own video, right? I made this admittedly a long time ago in 2019, but that was the first time I taught the class. And it's still current. So again, I cover several works of art. You want to take notes on those. Then there's a video on Tom Wesselman. This one is, I believe, pretty short. Again, take notes on the works of art that are covered in here. Six videos, similar thing on Claes Oldenburg. These are, let's say, classic pop artists, right? And then finally, Andy Warhol, all right? So all of these 3 especially are pretty quick. So again, you may need to watch them twice. So then you're gonna be taking notes, right? Hopefully by tomorrow night. I want you to do this early so that then you have time to review the notes and maybe rewatch the videos if needed. But I think a good first step is to really focus on the notes early. And then you're gonna take your notes, submit them. It's an assignment, and submit them. Now you can what can you do here for notes? You can take notes on the computer, or maybe if you have 2 screens, you want to take notes on your, maybe you watch it. I wouldn't say watch it on your phone because it's going to be too small, but if you have maybe a tablet and a computer, or a second computer, you may want to take notes on the computer. That's fine. So you save your notes as a file, a Word file, a PDF, whatever you like, and then you submit it. If you take notes by hand, it's perfectly fine. Just do not submit. I mean, you'll want to take pictures of each page, right? So don't submit one picture for each page. Instead, insert the pictures into a Word file, all together in one file, save the one file, and submit one file, right? Because it's a lot for me to have so many files. So simply insert them all in there, and then you'll have them. It's whichever way works for you to take notes is fine. Each student must write their own notes. This is important because you learn that way, right? So you write your own notes. Don't share them. It's fine to share things, but not in this case, because again, you want to prepare your own study materials and to do the watching on your own, and then just submit what you have made. And then before you take the test, you may want to test your ability to use Lockdown browser, because sometimes there are updates or whatever it is. So here is the practice quiz for installing it. If you don't have Lockdown Browser on your computer, then once you click in here, it will prompt you to download it, and then you can reuse it for the test, right? If you've never used it, which mostly I'm pretty sure you all have, but if you have never used it, don't be scared. It seems to freeze and take over your computer, right? As if you had a giant virus. It's just simply locking it for the purpose of the test. So don't be scared. Once you have for sure done this, and you can repeat this as many times as you want, then on Friday, that's where you want to take this test. And it will be open from 12:01 a.m. Until 11:59 p.m. So you have the full 24 hours to take the test. Do it whenever you want, whenever you feel you're ready. So how would you prepare for this test? What are you going to be focusing on again as you are taking notes and studying and reviewing? Well, you're going to be focusing on what we call the context of creation of the work, right? Where it was made, stylistic choices, visible imagery or iconography, the techniques used, the overall concept of our message, and the context of reception. So context of reception means how the work was received by others, how others interpreted it other than the artist generally, right? The context of creation usually is like, well, what life experiences led the artist to create this work. And sometimes also, of course, the cultural and artistic changes in the period or place. So all of those are the context of creation. And then the context of reception is how it was received. And oftentimes they intertwine, right? Because an artist will many times respond to the context of reception to create something else, right? So that is very important. So as you study, also make a list of specific terms. There are several that I use, and they are in the PowerPoint that I made. They are actually written: mass media, repetition, consumer culture, American dream, etc. All of these are concepts / terms that are going to help us interpret the art. You do not need to study image identifications. Those are provided for you. Just the thing that you want to do is like just use it, right? So when you're writing your essay, at least use either the name of the artist or the name of the work. So don't tell me the top image and the bottom image, the right image and the left image, nothing like that, or even just the image, right? Just say, Wesselman or the Great American Nude, right? That's his work. So name it in some way that really makes it a little looks better and more professional. So you do have 90 minutes to write this test, and you have 8 essay questions. So you have roughly 9 minutes. I don't know, I didn't do the math, but it seemed like an adequate amount of time. These are short essays. It's nothing too insane. So just make sure you do that. Now there is a new thing with the testing system, well, new to me at least, with the testing system in D2L, which is that it submits the test for you by the 90 minutes. So there used to be a grace period, now there isn't anymore. So I gave you 90 minutes, which is more time than I was giving before. So you have plenty of time, there's no grace period. If you wait until minute 90 and the end of it, it will submit automatically. I don't think that's kind of nice. It's just I don't know. It takes your ownership of the work you wrote, right? So you want to submit at the very least by minute 89. I think you would be fine. All right. If you have any questions about this, let me know. Here we have the exam rubric. Very straightforward, right? We have 8 questions, and basically what I'm expecting is that you answer all the questions fully and completely, providing specific information, and that you write using complete sentences. All right. Very general, because you have the questions, you have the instructions. As long as you follow the instructions and you follow the questions and you use the terms, that's what I want. All right. So then the grading is pretty straightforward, as you can see. I'm sorry. Just make sure that you are doing that for each of the essays. All right. So I'm gonna go back, and that's the end of week 1. Then you have the weekend, so go enjoy it. All right, then my turn is to grade. So then we're gonna go to week 2, and that's what's going to happen next week. So we begin here with discussion, right? So for these discussions, you are writing, as I said, one research post and then writing replies to other classmates' posts. But this is structured in a kind of particular way. So in week 2, we're looking at the pop aesthetic in the service of feminism and political art. And these are 2 of my favorite topics. So for each of these units, and the same goes for week 3 and week 4, you have what are called these panels, right? So there are these panels. So there are works of art that fall into these general topics, and they are grouped into panels. So what you are going to do before you do anything else is click on this link here and find the file that is editable, right? For section B, it'll say section B, but we are going through this. So what you want to do is select one work from one panel. You're only writing about one work from the entire PowerPoint, all right? Select one work of art from one panel. Write your name in the student slot, and then once you write your name, you have claimed this work as your research topic for the week, all right? You're focusing on one work, and that is the one you're choosing. And then other students will also come in and enter their name in other slides. So when you see that a slide has been taken, let's say I decide that this is the one I like, and I go in there and I write my name, right? XX, oh, Jesus, what did I do? Well, I don't know. But XXX, that's what I wanted to write. This is my name, all right? Then don't do that, which I just did, which is delete it, all right? Somebody else's name. Leave it in there and find something else. There are enough works for everybody in the class, right? There are 20 works and there are 20 students. If somebody drops, there's one more. So, and they are divided into these panels, right? So you can see panel 1, American women artists in pop art. So we're looking at work by women. Then we're looking at international women artists in pop art. Then we're looking at the pop aesthetic in the art of the civil rights movement. And finally, in panel 4, we're looking at the pop aesthetic in international pop art. All right. So you choose one that is available, second that you like. All right, whichever it is. And there are many choices. So then after you've done your choices, you go back to that and you are going to submit when you whichever one you chose, right? Let's say you chose this one, like I tried to do. Then your panel is American women artists in pop art. So when you go back, this is the panel where you're going to submit your post. No other panel, right? You submit in there only, just one. The rest you ignore for now, all right? You submit there. So you go and you submit your post. It's a discussion topic. All right, so what are you writing? Well, what you are writing is here in these instructions for all 3 weeks. So we have week 2, week 3, oh my goodness, and week 4, not 5. Okay, sorry about that. Well, I'll fix that later because I'm in student mode right now. It's just week 4, and it tells you everything you have to do here. So you have guidelines to write the analytical research post, and then guidelines to write your replies. All right, so you go in there, and as it says, weeks 2, 3, and 4 submissions. There are the learning objectives, general instructions, right? And then you're going to write a post that covers all of these, all right? Illustration, artwork identification. The illustration is you simply put the picture. You can copy it from the PowerPoint file and put it in here. The same thing with the identification. Usually you will find the identification, just copy and paste, right, into your post. And then you're going to discuss the following items: iconography, technique, style, context, and your interpretation, all right? Because once you have provided the information that all of this is, then you can put that together and in your mind create an interpretation. This is what art history is, right? We analyze the information and we create an interpretation of the work and sometimes of the artist in general. Okay, so what is iconography? Iconography is the imagery. So here you want to describe what you are seeing. This is very important. You simply describe what you see. Look at the photo, I mean, the image that you have on the screen, and describe what you see. Do it in the most objective possible way, right? In other words, don't read before you describe. Just describe first. What do you see? Because this is fundamental to really focus on what you see, to then use the information to analyze what you are seeing. So here are some guiding questions. What figures of objects are being represented? How are they characterized? For example, facial expressions. How do the stylistic choices of the artist or the art affect your perception of the iconography? For example, if something is very painterly, it looks very different from something where the paint is very smooth, right? So how does that affect the type of facial expression? If something is very painterly, it will perhaps look less orderly and more chaotic, whereas if something is very smooth, it might look more like a print, right? Or an advertisement, something that is very clean and objective. Then we're looking at technique. So what techniques did the artist use? Sometimes it's very straightforward, acrylic on canvas, but then again, how has it been used, right? Because you are probably, most of you are artists, and so you know that you really can use a technique in one way to create certain effects, or you can use exactly the same technique to create completely different effects. So you definitely want to talk about the technique, but also how has it been used. The process, how do you, if you've done some research about the work or maybe just the technique itself, how does it enlighten you to know how the work was made? So that's a technique, very important. And then style. So at the beginning in week 1, I talk about the pop aesthetic in the lectures and what that is, right? There are certain, it's very easy almost, I think, to identify a work of art as pop because they have certain very key direct characteristics. It doesn't mean that every work in the pop movement looks like that, but there is by and large a kind of agreement about how it looks, right? So here you're going to be kind of comparing in your mind the pop aesthetic that we discussed in the first week with how this work that you're discussing looks. So you want to discuss that. Then the context is, as I explained before, context of creation and context of reception may consist of biographical information about the artist, or may consist about historical events or cultural factors that were relevant in the creation of the work and that are relevant to better understand and interpret the work, right? We are in each of these panels, we are looking at works of art from a distinct era, let's say, for all 3 weeks. So we are looking at more or less the 1960s and 70s in this early week. So, how does that context affect it? And then finally, your interpretation. When you put all this together, what do you think the work means, right? Now, for some of these works, there are already existing interpretations. So you can read them, of course, you should, and then you might agree or disagree, right? That's it, or maybe add an insight, right? For maybe the interpretation says that the work means this, but then you also thought of something else, right? Like that can add to that. Or you can actually completely disagree with it, right? But sometimes, for the most part, I think we all are adding to what others have written before us. So that is perfectly fine. But if you have an additional insight, for sure, use it. When you're writing your ideas, use first person singular. All right? That take ownership of your writing. Then you need to insert footnotes. All right? This is easier than it seems. And actually, I got rid of the works cited requirement, so I'm going to delete this and edit it in just a minute after after this call. So no works cited, like we're getting rid of that. But nonetheless, you do have to use footnotes, and that is important. So that is this, all right? And I will show you to clarify this, and this one has been fully updated, so it's correct, the sample, all right? I wrote a sample for you, so you can just use this as a guide. This is one of my favorite artists and research topics, Mel Casas, and he wrote this I'm sorry, he made this painting, and so this is what you have to do. So really, to truly know what you have to do, you need to read this one file that I wrote, and then imitate what is in here, so that you get a good grade, right? Now you will see that the footnotes, right? So there is no footnote function on D2L, so you'll have to insert the number there, right? Number one, number two, number three, number four, number five, and then you're going to cite the sources that you are going to claim as your sources, right? The sources that you're going to claim. And you have to follow the Chicago Manual of Style, which is very straightforward, especially for online sources. And you can do that. Now, you might notice that I'm using Wikipedia here, and people might like get a heart attack. It's like, wow, she's using Wikipedia. Well, Wikipedia for certain things can be very useful. I wouldn't use it for perhaps a scholarly paper, but as a starting point in research, it's very, very useful, especially, for example, some of these files that are, like about what happened that year. And this painting is from 1967. And so what happened in 1967 in the United States, maybe it's an American painting, right? So maybe the events of the period had an impact in the work. And so you can bring that up, and there is a file for each year, right? Very useful in my opinion. Then here we have something about the miniskirt, right? Because you see that these women here in the work are all wearing miniskirts. So maybe once you notice that, you may want to look into the history of the miniskirt, right? So what is this all about? And I'm sure you'll find a blog, all right? Use those sources. They are not scholarly, but they are useful. Sometimes the works of art that we're looking at have not been thoroughly discussed, and even then, if they have, you might look at them with fresh eyes yourself. There might be, again, about this artist, he is discussed, but the basic facts of his life are covered in a Wikipedia page, and they are all correct, because I know this because I've done research on him. And then Ruben Cordova was a writer. So again, he did write an article about Casas. And therefore, you can use an article. And then again, look at this. Wikipedia has 1967 in film, right? Because Casas was very interested in film. And so, you may want to check what films might have been available for him to look at in the same year that he made the painting. And again, you'll get a source for that. So again, sources do not need to be super complicated. They just need to give you information about each of these things, so that then you can construct or create your own interpretation. All right, so that's what I'm after. So then, once you have submitted your post by the deadline, hopefully, you are going to write replies. All right, so where are you submitting the replies? Well, so what you have to do, let's go back to this. You have to, let's say you submitted, as we said in here, I think we had decided that we had focused on American women artists in pop art, right? So you submitted your research post in this panel 1. And so then you're going to submit 2 replies for each of these. So total of 6. So for each of these weeks, there are 4 panels, and you submit your research post in one, whichever one your image is in, and then you submit the other 3, the other 6, oh my God, I'm really getting confused myself. The other 2, 6 in total, in each of those. I apologize for that. 2, 2, and 2. So what you're going to do, you're going to click on this, find posts written by your classmates, read them, and respond. All right? What are you responding and how? Okay, so that's where we go back to that. So the instructions for your replies. In your replies, here there are the instructions. You have to write 2 replies for each panel, right? And what you're doing is you're constructing a connection. So what does the work of art discussed by my classmate, that's what you're answering, have in common with another work of art discussed the prior week? Do the 2 artworks share a concept or a theme? Explain specifically. Do they share the same context, even if they look different? How are they similar and how are they different? Consider context, style, iconography, technique, and concept of the two works of art as you construct your connection. So the key here is you need to be connecting the work discussed by your classmate this week with the work discussed in the class as a whole the prior week. So for week 2, you are connecting with works discussed on week 1. The works discussed on week 1 are the ones covered in the test. Once we get to week 3, you're connecting with works from week 3 with works from week 2. Once we get to week 4, you are connecting with works from week 3. So week 4, week 3. And that's it. Then the last week is different. All right? So why are we doing this? Because this is a way to learn. This is a way to create continuity and contrast as we learn, right? And this will allow you to really learn. It has been my experience. This is called, in education parlance, this is called a constructive method. In other words, we learn from what we already know. All right? So you begin with work 1, where I teach you, and you also learn on your own because you are watching the videos on your own. And then you basically teach yourself through the next 3 weeks. All right, by going back to the prior week. And it's very important that it's only the prior week, not just any week. All right, the prior week. So be sure to follow that. The other important thing is that when you're replying, you use images from the prior week that you did not already discuss. So in other words, if you discussed an image in your research post already, don't repeat, don't use the same one, choose something else. All right. And if you have any questions about this, what is okay and what is not okay, just send me an email and ask me before so that you don't, mess up. So here we have the rubric for that, a participation contribution. Now, these replies are going to be 250 words each. That sounds like, I don't know what it sounds like to you, but it may be a lot. I mean, it is a lot once you add all 6 of them, right? So you do not want to wait too long. You don't want to wait until the Friday when they are due to write them all. You want to maybe do 2, 2, and 2, right? So that you allow yourself a little bit of time to think. Completely and thoroughly. So first reply, this is for each of the panels, right? So first reply, the student follows the instructions to write a participation contribution carefully and precisely, producing a polished and insightful research post. All right, that's my rubric. They tend to be very simple. So you do what you were asked to do. And of course, here you have a sample. All right, so you have several actually. Last week, it says in here, this is the image from the prior week. We talk about this one in week 1, as a matter of fact. So this would be a sample reply. Last week, one word we discussed was in the BBC video was "Girl with a Ball" by Roy Lichtenstein. And so this imaginary student is comparing and contrasting and connecting all things, the girl with the ball and Casas's Humanscape 34, which is the painting from the sample, right? So this is the painting from the sample here. And you are connecting it with Girl with the Ball, all right? So that's what you have to do. And just read the reply to get an idea of what kind of reply I'm looking for, all right, when you're writing these connections. So in terms of length, the analytical research post is going to be, let me make sure I remember because I changed that, 500 words minimum, including the text and the footnote. So it can be longer, right? I mean, I'm not putting a limit on the maximum, but it has to be a minimum of 500 words, including the text and the footnotes, all right? And your post should address the aspects below. And then the replies are 250 words. I don't know if it's minimum or maximum, but 250 words minimum, including identification and footnotes. You do not need to put footnotes in the reply, but if you are introducing new information that you need to reference, then definitely use it. Okay? Okay. So again, any questions about this, you let me know. You have a whole week. Don't worry about it yet. And for now, focus just on the exam. Weeks 3 and 4 are going to be the same. I'm still working on the file with the images, so be patient, but you don't need it yet. So hold off to that. And then the last one. All right. But this video is going to be a bit too long, so I think I'm going to save this for another video, maybe closer to when we get to it. What else do I need to tell you? Oh, the syllabus. Syllabus. So this is our syllabus. As you can see, there are all these fun little images of popular culture, just because pop art was all about that, right? So this is our syllabus. That's me a long time ago, a cartoon. And well, what's most important here really is the late policy, right? Well, obviously two things. Course expectations. Yeah, I expect you to log in 4 days a week minimum. That's kind of standard. Graded assignments. Here's kind of a list of them. This is the list of the assignments which you can read about. But really what's important is the late work policy. So for late work, I don't want to say that I'm lenient, don't take advantage of it, but I am human and so are you. And so if something, somehow you are very busy, you have work, you are taking many classes, you have projects due, extenuating circumstances, right, that will prevent you from submitting by Tuesday or Friday all of your work, let me know. All right, let me know. Well, something came up and I'm working until like close to midnight and I still have not finished. Let me know. And then, but I do need to hear from you, right? In order to give you a little bit of an extension. And when I say little bit, that's what it is. It's like one day. Because I don't want you to get behind. I mean, it's a very fast-paced course, all things considered. So you definitely don't want to be taking a whole week to do something. But just let me know. If you're ill, however, and it'll be more than a day, right? Then just fill out the excused absence notification. So if you're ill, if something much more extenuating that will require you to miss a deadline by several dates for whatever reason, then definitely you need an excused absence. Then the rest has to do with AI. So AI is, what can I say? I mean, I think we all use it in one way or another, but again, for the most part, you should write on your own. I'll tell you how I use it. I write my own work, and then if I really am having a super hard time coming up, like not coming up, but like writing something that reads well, that somehow just I need a little help with editing, right? Then I put it through GPT, and then I see, well, it could be better this way, but the idea is mine, right? So I think again, you want to try to do that as much as possible for the simple reason that you want to learn something, right? So write yourself, and then if you really feel that your writing is needs a little bit of help, okay, all right. I will do a weekly check of the submitted work of 5 randomly selected students, and I'll pass it through turnitin.com. So again, because in the discussion, the work is not tested through turnitin.com, but every week I will just go through random people that probably won't be the same. And then, I'll have a little bowl with names and I'll pull them, and then I'll run the work through Turnitin.com and see what comes up. And then again, if Turnitin reports a higher percentage than 5%, then I will do something about it. So, use your head, okay? In every single way. Use your head to write, and then use your head to not engage into academic dishonesty. The schedule is exactly what is in the summary that I put in the homepage. So that is the syllabus, right? And it doesn't have anything too original in there. That's it. All right. I will again once we get a little bit closer to week 5, you can read about it. It's all posted. So if you want to have a, like get to know what you're going to do, fine. But I think I'm going to save the instructions for as we are getting closer maybe to week 3, so that this is not too overwhelming. So with that, I bid you adieu. Today I will start reading your self introductions and replying. All right. And I will answer any questions that you have. If you have questions, a good place to put them is in your self introduction, right? After you watch this video or before, whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. And if you have any questions, just put them in there, as long as they are not regarding your grade, right? It always has to be general questions about the policies. If you have any questions that are specific to you, those should go by email. All right. And you probably all know my email anyway, but in case you don't, where is it? Contact Dr. Potsi Harris. Okay, here it is. So I check my email Monday through Friday between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. That's okay. I check it more, but nonetheless. And then we can have a Zoom office hour meeting if you let me know when you want to do it. But the first thing you need to do is email me. All right. And here's my cell phone number in case you have an extreme emergency, like, I don't know, you lost power or you have no internet or, things like that. Right. So you have that there. Of course, write this down elsewhere, because if you don't have internet, how are you going to know my number? So take a picture of it from the screen. Okay, that is it. Again, this applies to section A and it also applies to section B. Okay, it's same thing. I'm going to fix those little things in each class. And I look forward to getting to know you. I'll be posting this video right here on the announcements. All right, so you all have it. See you soon. Have a great rest of your week.